Hey, it's Aaron. Today I'm in a tiny little car. This is the all-new 2022 Subaru BRZ. So it's completely redone this year, and its twin, the Toyota 86, has also been redone and released this year. This is a lot of good improvements for this car, while still keeping the price point low, because that's also the point of this car. It's supposed to be the everyman's beginner sports car. It's the car you start out with, and then eventually you spend like all of your money and it becomes a race car. Anyway, great little car, so much fun to drive. I'm just going to go through the interior. This is the interior walkthrough. Be pretty short because the +2 seats in the back are kind of pointless, so there won't be a lot to show, and the controls and everything else are very simple in this car. So let's just start where we usually start and walk through. All right, so over here we're going to start at the door and windows. So here you see the door handle up here, the first of the vents right there. I love these round kind. I've talked about that before. Down here you have your mirror adjustments, so you turn this left or right and you adjust the side mirrors. Down here's the door locks. A little difficult to find, took me a minute to figure out where those were. They're a lot more prominent on the passenger side door. The good news is it's a tiny little car, you can just reach across. Windows here, you can see they're both automatic. They're automatic up and down. And then here's the window lock in case you don't want your passenger screwing around with the windows. Here is your most convenient of the cup holders in this car. This is the one I've used the very most because it is most convenient. And this door handle happens to also be where I end up putting my phone all the time, because this is a tiny car. There really isn't a whole lot of storage space. This is a good spot because you can just set your phone in there, and then you don't forget it getting out of the car because it's right there staring at you. So bonus. You can see the sport pedals down there. Kind of want to point those out. Notice that there's 3 of them. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. So the steering wheel, let's go over that real quick. Over here is mostly your infotainment stuff. So you can see you have volume here. This skips tracks and or stations. This chooses the source. Here's your phone. You can pick up or hang up using that button. And then this is the hang up button specifically. It will not activate the phone system on the infotainment. This one will. Just, you know, FYI, in case you need to Bluetooth your phone, you can hit this button and it'll ask you if you want to connect one. Over here is the driver information screen controls. The driver info screen isn't too huge. It's that one over there on the left, but it's big enough considering the size of the car. You have a back button up here. You go through the menus here. You push this to select things. I'll show you some of those menus when we get to the cluster. Here is your voice control. You can use this to activate voice controls on the infotainment. Kind of useful, but still old school, so it still just walks you through menus. A little bit tedious. Down here is the dongle for cruise control, so still going with the old Toyota layout. Most of the interior design on this car, by the way, is Toyota, whereas the powertrain and a few other things are 100% Subaru. So you can see how this works. You know, you push this to set or to turn it on, and then you down or up to set and reset or resume, and then you can see the cancel. You pull it towards you. Now, looking at the instrument cluster, oh wait, I didn't talk about the dongles. Over here you have washer wipers and I almost said fog lamps. You have washer wiper controls, and you pull it towards you to squirt, and then you can see the rest of it here. This controls the speed or aggressiveness, and then up and down is even more speed controls. Just shoving it up really quick gives you that one-off shot, right? And then over here is lighting controls and signal turns. So just remember, signal turns, that's the order you use them in. You signal and then you turn, and then you can see here the lighting settings. I have it on auto. Here you can force it. Here you can just do marker lights, and then back and forth for your brights as per every other vehicle. So forward gives just the turns them on. Pulling back gives you the one-off like bright bing bing, right? And then over here you can see the trip reset button, and then right in the middle here as the instrument cluster. Now, over here's the driver information screen. You can change that stuff as you need. So if I page through, and that is, by the way, my actual my actual mileage and what is actually left on the tank right here. So you can see I used a lot of fuel. I put a lot of miles on this little car. It was a lot of fun, especially because it snowed a couple times. And yeah, rear wheel sports cars, and this still has summer tires on it in the snow. Yeah, I had to get pushed a couple times, but it was fun in some ways, and learning experience for my kids. How's that? But anyway, this is probably not the car for you if you live in like the Arctic. Just gonna say. But regardless, as far as I know, this is the only Subaru you can buy that doesn't have all-wheel drive as standard. It doesn't even have all-wheel drive as an option. But you know, it's a rear-wheel sports car. It's fun. It's the point. All right, back to this. So you can see what I did driving on this, and then as I page through the wrong button, as I page through those menus, you can see there's a few things you know, whatever you want to look at. Like there's my RPM curves. That's what's on my infotainment right now. It's Bluetoothing, trying to Bluetooth off my phone. I have it turned off. And then you can see, you know, blind spot and all of that. You can do all kinds of settings in here. And you can also go up and down through the menus that allow that, so you can see some more stuff that I've done. This is total for the car, so it's not my trip. This is total for the car itself. Other people have gotten way better mileage than me. They must be much nicer drivers. You can see a few other things, tire pressures and whatnot. There's a lot of really cool info in here, so it pays to page through it. Now in the middle, what you're seeing is the speedometer and tachometer. So around the outside here, that's the tachometer. You can see where the red line is. And then the speedometer is in the middle. It's electronic or digital. And this is a really nice setup because you can immediately see where you're at as far as your RPM and your everything else. So what I've been doing most of the time is you can watch your RPMs, and you can be going about 35 miles an hour and move all the way to 5th gear, and you're still at pretty close to 2,000 RPM. So that's an indication of how high it prefers to rev. This car likes to run really high, and that's a beauty when you're really wanting to, you know, do fun stuff. Oh, it's really nice because you can see exactly both things at the same time, and at the same time you can do like a really really easy shift. Like you get your shift pattern down really quickly in this car, as far as when and how you should be shifting. So it's a really beautiful thing. Anyway, over here you've got, you can see I'm not wearing a seatbelt because I'm just parked over here. I've got the parking brake on. There's a lot of other red lights that will pop up. Engine light and so on is up there. Blue light for the coolant's still cold. All that kind of thing all shows up through here. And then down here you're seeing outside temperature is 37. You can see what time it is, and you can see the engine state. So right now it's about where it likes to hover. It tends to stay right there. It rarely goes underneath that at the midpoint. And then down here's your fuel. So, and then of course it fills on the right hand side. So really simple but useful gauge cluster. Very nicely done. I really like the simplicity. I'm getting tired of the over complex information overload that's often available on new cars. How's that? Anyway, looking here, you can see a couple vents in the middle and your Dukes lights. Down here you can see this is the infotainment screen. This is kind of the main menu. If you hit this home, this is what you end up with. You can run through a lot of different things. There's some hard buttons here, and then you can see what's on the screen as far as this stuff. Most of it's pretty simple, not terribly complicated. These two things are kind of useful. My Subaru's nice because you can use it to make your like maintenance appointments and other things. It just uses your phone as your data connection, and then Starlink, if you set it up, then you can use Starlink to act sort of like what would you call it? Sort of like Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which are also in this car. So you can use that as Subaru's standalone version of that, and then you can see radio and media and all that good stuff. Now, down here, you can see our push button start. You have to have the clutch in, of course. Again, standard transmission. We'll get to it. And then over here, you can see I never did turn off the climates. So here's the climate settings. Use these to set temperatures. You can do it dual or single. In this particular, this is the limited model. Most of them I don't think have dual. I think it's just one. And then here's how you set your fan speeds and where they're blowing. And then down here, you have some buttons. So you hit auto right here. You turn it on and off like I just did right here. And then you can run your AC, your air conditioner, with these. And then here's your defrosts. So this has mirror defrost as well. Again, limited model. It's part of that setup. Here's your mode. That's what changes. I said that wrong when I said that this changes your modes. This is fan speeds. This changes where the air is blowing. Here's your back button. I mean recirc. And then this syncs the two sides in this dual right here. And then you'll notice that there is nothing under here. There's no way to get into any storage under here. This is normally where you would have a phone, but there really just isn't space. But you got this. This is your shifter. If you're a millennial and you're not familiar with these, I'm going to make the joke because I can. Then this is the shift pattern, standard H. You start out in first, and then you can, if you drive like I do, you go to first to third. But anyway, you can blow through those gears back and forth, and then reverse. You pull up and move it, and it'll open the gate to allow you into reverse. Over here is your, let me see if I can get them to focus. Over here is traction control. This is regular traction on and off, and then this is for the track. So it's, what this does is, I believe it also turns off the vehicle stability control when you run this. And then you got bun warmers in this particular model, and a handbrake, which you got to have in a car like this. If you don't have a handbrake in a car like this, the car is not like this. The car is terrible. So, over here, you got a little bit of storage and some drink holders. You can see those here, and you can see the USB plugs are down in there. You also have an earphone plug, which I find kind of odd, but you know. These drink holders are okay, but I elbow them, so that's why I haven't been using them. That's why I've been using the one that's in the door. There's another one in that door right there, because these drink holders, when I'm shifting, I just want to smash the drink with my elbow. Not good. Anyway, dashboard. You look at the dashboard design. You see how kind of flowing and has a shelf like this. This is pretty cool. I really just kind of like this whole getup. It just looks good without being expensive. This is hard plastic. This is not as hard plastic. This is more rubbery. And the noise level in this car is high, but this car is a sports car. Luxury sports cars are not necessarily loud, but most sports cars are loud. It's part of having a sports car. You can see the cool stripes on the seats. You can see the floor mats over there. You can see the bolstering is great in these cars. And then back here, there's the +2. They have to be really small people, or the person up front has to really scrunch for somebody to sit back there. So there you go. That's what I got. I don't know if the other camera's on, so I don't know if I can finish the usual way, but that's the interior of the 2022 Subaru BRZ. Oh, the stereo. I didn't mention the stereo. The stereo in this is tinny. It's the upgraded stereo. It still sounds like a tin box. It's not very good. There's no way for me to like be nice, because it's just not a great stereo. It's okay, but it's not great. It reminds me of the 90s. Actually, it's what all car stereos sounded like in the 90s. So that's a downer. But anyway, it's fun to drive. That's the point of this car. So that's what I got. 2022 Subaru BRZ. Almost said it wrong. All right, talk to you soon. Subscribe.